Welcome to Your Radiant Spirit, the podcast where art, energy, and inspiration come alive. Hosted by award-winning intuitive painter Heather Eck, synesthetic artist, chakra expert, and spiritual guide, this show invites you to explore the transformative power of color, creativity, and spiritual healing. Heather's unique gift of seeing color through energy fuels her stunning spirit portraits and chakra-aligned artworks, designed to bring healing and alignment to your life. Whether you're curious about the magic of chakras, looking to unlock your creative potential, or eager to connect with your radiant spirit, you're in the right place. Your radiant spirit is calling. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome back to Your Radiant Spirit. I'm your host, Heather. I'm so excited that you're joining me today. Season 2 is going to open up the space where we chat with healers, artists, people in the healing modality space who are actively working on helping other people amplify their radiant spirits. And today's guest is someone very special all the way from Australia. Her name is Beth McIntyre of BEM Healing. Beth is a gifted healer and artist who bridges the worlds of psychology, energy healing, and abstract art. As an emotion code, body code, and belief code practitioner, Beth helps people release trapped emotional energies and subconscious beliefs that may be holding them back, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally. Her work is all about bringing the body back into balance so it can heal itself. She infuses her artistic practice with spirituality, creating powerful, intuitive art. We're going to dive into her healing work, how she blends science and spirituality, and how you can work with her to clear energetic blocks. Side note, if throughout this interview you hear what sounds like a basketball or a dog barking, just know that's part of my day-to-day life. Okay, Beth, well, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Heather.
Of course. I'm so excited to learn more about emotion code, body code, and belief code and your work as a practitioner. Tell me what first got you into this work.
I think like a lot of people in this work, I'd already been doing this work for a while, and I was like always looking for new modalities to like dive into and learn. And then when I came across this one, I think it just, as I started doing it, it just, you just find those modalities that just resonate with you. And I'd done so many before and they all were nice and life was getting better and I felt like I was growing and healing. But it wasn't until I found this one that like I really felt like, oh, this is the one for me. I think that this is really the one that like my main one. This feels like it's really doing a lot. Like I started noticing my inner world was like changing like really rapidly compared to all the other work I'd done before.
Oh, wow.
And it was also like super simple. Like that was at the beginning, it was like a big hurdle for me to get over because I was like, oh, it's so simple. Surely it can't be working. But yeah, I just kept doing it anyway. And then but things were just changing. And I was like, wow, it's definitely working. So yeah, that's how it's. Yep.
Wow. Well, this is, I'm sure there are other folks out there who are unfamiliar with what the emotion code, body code, and belief code are. Can you just take a second and sort of walk us through what that is and how it works?
Yeah. So basically we have like the founder, he made kind of like a big comprehensive system. So it is a form of energy healing. But I like it because coming from kind of like more a science background, it's very systematic. He has this huge chart. And you basically use muscle testing, which is what they also use in kinesiology. It's it's a slightly different type of muscle testing, but it's the same principle where you use the muscles to find like whether they go weak or strong to find answers. And so I can do it. You can do it on the person themselves, but I always learned to kind of tap into them and do it on myself. And then through the chart, you kind of just ask yes and no questions, and the subconscious mind has all the answers already. So you just ask the questions and you find the imbalances through the chart, that there's like thousands of pages in this kind of app, the system that he's got. And you just keep narrowing it down until you find the imbalance that the subconscious mind guides you to. Whether there's like a chart of emotions. So most of the stuff you find is like trapped emotional energy. Which can come from like trauma with the capital T, of course, or like just day-to-day things, like you feel like crying and you stuff it down, like that can cause trapped emotional energy, or like you get angry and it's like you can really feel it in your body, that can cause it to be trapped. Anytime where something happens and it's really hard for you to like forget about it. Like you keep mulling over it. Normally I've
Hmm.
found in myself that like I've normally trapped some kind of emotional energy, even if it's like something super insignificant. Like the example I always use is like when someone cuts you off on the road, and if you kind of
That's what we can
like
all relate
exactly,
to.
like you're gonna forget about that probably like in a week, but like it can still, the body doesn't forget about it. Like mentally, you won't even remember that. So these emotional energies can come from just living life, really. And the more imbalanced the body is, the easier. Like if you're stressed or tired or just sick, run down, the less the body is able to cope with that. So the more likely it will be that you'll trap these energies. People come with like the symptoms. So I'll ask the mind, like, what is causing these symptoms or what is contributing to these symptoms? Um, and the subconscious mind will just guide me to what it is. And then energetically we release it. So we use the governing meridian, which is one of the from the Chinese system.
Uh-huh.
And with intention and magnetic energy, you just swipe down the governing meridian. And with the intention, it's all about intention, of course, to release that energy from the body, and it gets released, and you keep going. Like then you ask the subconscious mind the next imbalance until you're done.
Wow. Okay, so you just made me, when you said meridian, you made me think of I had a massage when I was in France and I did my artist residency there, and the
Mhm.
masseuse worked, he must have studied in Chinese medicine and he worked along the meridians of our bodies.
Mm.
And he got to this on my thigh that he pressed on,
Mhm.
and it made me cry. Like instantly made me
Mm.
cry. And I was just laying there going, "Oh my gosh, there must be something stuck there. Like what
Mm.
is that energy that's trapped in that?" So what happens when these trapped emotions and beliefs affect our physical bodies and our emotional well-being? Like what does that do to
Yeah.
us? Yeah.
So like my clients come to me with all different things, but physical symptoms are like probably the number one thing, because I guess like if you don't have your health, like everything else ends up coming up. But like, if you're not healthy, that's probably like the main, it prevents you from anything else, right? So a lot of my clients come with physical symptoms. Um, and what happens is I'm sure a lot of people, it's becoming more common knowledge now that like the body stores the energy, and it can cause all manifestations of physical symptoms, um, and that's basically what's happening. But how it's seen in the system is that it's not so much that it specifically is the cause. Like you may have like like epigenetics, where you may have the gene for a certain disease, but these imbalances are almost causing that to be like turned on. Or you may have some kind of toxin from your environment, but because you've got all these imbalances in your body, it's not necessarily they're causing it, but they are, because the body has like an innate ability to heal itself.
Hmm.
Like if you get a cold, you'll heal yourself. If you get a cut, it heals. But when the body is overloaded with these negative energies inside of us, it's basically like blocking that flow of energy, which is its ability to heal.
Yeah.
And so when you remove those, you can see like the symptoms just start to go away. So like it's if you have someone like, for example, who's a runner, and the body has, because they put a lot of pressure on their ankles or their knees, um, the negative energy is like the body knows the weak parts. So those negative energies will almost like go to those parts.
Hmm.
So the person might start to feel aches or something in their knees. And it's not necessarily because they're a runner. It's because, of course, they're using those parts of their body often. So they are the weaker parts. So then those negative energies kind of tend to be drawn to those. So you release those. And of course, there's still going to be pressure in that area, but like those negative energies are no longer there. So the body's able to kind of like recuperate itself. So it's kind of goes back into harmony and balance. So that's a
Okay.
lot of physical symptoms are that. So it's like once you release that pressure, it's like a big pressure cooker. Once you like release that, the body's able to like almost like like relax, and then it can the physical symptoms can just kind of dissipate.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I've seen like all kinds of physical symptoms like dissipate. It's been
That,
so good.
yeah. That was going to be
Yeah.
my next question. Like, what is there, are there examples of clients that you've worked with where you've seen like a profound transformation in somebody before and after going through this
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, well, I haven't been doing this for that long, but there are still some. Um, I mean, there are even when I was just like doing my certifications, and I had you have to practice on people, and I practiced on my mum, and she had for ages like these like food intolerances, and like she had all sorts of gut issues, like just like toilet issues, and it would affect her sleep, and she'd get
Mm.
like brain fog, and then her stomach would just feel bad. She was like cutting out foods, trying to reintroduce them. She was like going on detoxes, trying to like do stuff for leaky gut, all this stuff,
Hmm.
and nothing was working. And like it was a really big problem. Like whenever we'd go out, we'd have to like find things she could eat, and then if there was accidentally something in the food, she would feel tired after, and we'd have to go home and she'd go to sleep. Um, and then like everything, it was ongoing for a while. Um, and I worked on her, and it's basically gone now. Like she doesn't have any of those symptoms at all anymore.
Wow. So
So
were you able to sort
that's
of pinpoint a specific emotion or event or something that was, you don't have to tell us what it
um,
is, but that was connected to that and clear that out?
So in some cases it might be just one, but
Okay.
in a lot of cases it's more like a build-up of things. It's like there's not for some like there are certain times where yeah, it's just like literally one thing causing it.
Hmm.
But in most cases it's kind of like it's like the body's been overloaded. So it's like a culmination of different imbalances. So it's a lot of emotions, but then it could be um like beliefs, and then other imbalances. So like we can energetically shift like bones and that. So like what a chiropractor would do, because the guy
Uh-huh.
who made it was actually a chiropractor. And so he realized you can energetically shift those bones, so you don't actually need to physically manipulate anyone. So it can be like a culmination of all these things.
Wow. Okay. So,
So in that case, there was a variety of things. I think there was because I'd been working on for all my three certifications, and it wasn't until the last one, which was about beliefs, that I finally completely shifted. So there were things leading up to it, but then there was like an underlying belief that she had picked up from somewhere that once we released that, like since then her symptoms have not come back.
that sounds amazing. So,
Yeah.
how do people start to become aware of their own energetic balances? Like that story about your mom and her stomach, I could totally relate to that. So, I think
Mm.
sometimes we have physical symptoms or we know things are sort of off, but are there any simple how number one, how do we become more aware of it? And then number two, are there any simple techniques that we can use on a daily basis that will help support us to release that emotional stuckness, stickiness, energetic
Mm.
stickiness, and then find some bigger balance in our lives.
Yeah, well, I guess like the noticing of the symptoms is like a big part because like it's so common, we just ignore them and we think, oh, this is nothing, and then that's what happens. It gets worse because we keep ignoring it, right? Or we stuff it down, or we take some medication that numbs it, and that's where like it kind of starts little, where it's like, oh, if we just got rid of some things, it would go back to balance, but we leave it, ignore it, and then it gets worse and worse, and that's what happens. So I think like noticing it and actually wanting to do something about it instead of just shoving it down is a
Hmm.
big step,
Hmm.
especially when we have like busy lives and stuff. It's like, oh, I can't deal with this headache right now. Like, just take some painkillers and go on. Or like, I can't deal with the stomach ache. I'm just gonna take some painkillers, or like, just like it'll pass.
Hmm.
And I think that's a big step, like kind of recognizing these things before they manifest into something bigger, and dealing with them when they're still small and manageable, versus keeping them down until it's like a big disease.
Yeah.
And then I guess, I mean, there are many ways, like this is not the only way, like just processing emotions through anything, like art, dance, like some kind of like embodiment movement, or like any kind of like practice that allows you to like kind of process emotions. Um, but of course, like this is my favorite one, and it is very simple. And he has a book, and I actually originally learned from the book, and you can learn from the book. And once you learn it, you can do it on yourself, and like you can do it on yourself, and just do it on yourself every day, and it's very easy.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
What?
A role does your intuition play in your work with other people? Um,
Mm.
and do we need to Well, let me just start with that. What role does intuition play in your work with other people?
Yeah, so now it's kind of developing. I think it's also one of those things, the more like shit you release from your body, like you're able to hear that and listen to it. Or like however it comes through for you, like because I think it was there before, but I wasn't able to discern it. Um, but now, yeah, it's like now when I'm doing a session for someone, a lot of times like I can intuitively like feel what the next imbalance is before it comes up.
Okay.
I think that's also part of learning because I know the chart quite well now. But like there are often things that come up and like the name of it will pop into my head before I've even started to ask. And then sometimes I'll just ask, is it that? Or sometimes I'll just let it guide me and like I'm like, oh yeah, like I knew that's what it was. Um, and then it's not like yeah, like before something's happening, like before I find it, I can like it's like a pull, like a no, I know it's going to be that. And then there's some other times where like it's like a because I guess it's trial and error. All of the work is trial and error. Muscle testing is like half a science and an art. There's
Mhm.
always like a little bit of subjectivity in it. But there's like a feeling I get when I'm like, oh, like this is the right imbalance. Like I know this is definitely it because it's like a very calm knowing that, yeah, this is like on the right track. And then there's another thing that happens sometimes because you can get to a point where you can release too much from a person. But then sometimes in a session, if I'm connected to someone's mind, there's a sense of like when the body is trying to rush me through something because it wants me to find a certain thing, but the thing doesn't like want to reveal itself straight away, but it's like, I'll keep going. And it's a very strange feeling, but like sometimes it's just like, no, no. And then I'm like, oh, I think it's time to finish. But then I feel like this sense of urgency. I'm like, no, there's something more here. Like it feels like it needs to get it out. So
Mhm.
I don't know. It's like these weird things. And the more I do it, like the more they kind of develop. And then I've kind of started like channeling some messages for my clients as
Yeah.
well. At the end of the session, I think sometimes it just helps people to like feel a sense of, certainty or safety or, like a sense of calmness. I just channel messages from like above.
Yeah. Your
Just
guides
ask if
are
there's anything, yeah, their guides in the universe, just to ask if there's anything they need to hear. And at the beginning, when I started doing this, I was like, oh, this is like a bit like, I don't know if this is right. But so far, everyone has said it's really resonated. So I just keep going with it. So yeah.
awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that the more you practice it, the deeper it gets. And it's
Mm,
surprising sometimes what your intuitive hits are. And then somebody
mm,
confirms it and you think, oh my
exactly.
gosh,
Yeah.
wow, okay, this is
Sometimes
awesome.
it's like, sometimes it's just like, this makes no sense. And then they're like, oh, yeah, that makes so much sense to me. I'm like, oh, okay, good.
So tell us more about your one-on-one sessions. So who are they best suited for? And are you able to work with people? You're in Australia. I'm in North Carolina in the US. Would we be able to do a session together online, or would I need to be there with you in person?
No, so I do sessions remotely and in person. So it's all energy, right? So it's just about intention, and I can connect to energy anywhere. A lot of my clients are in different countries. And then when I was doing my certification, clients were in different areas of the world. But I do have some in-person clients that come. I guess some people, like that in-person aspect.
Yeah.
Um, but no, because a lot of my sessions I actually just do by email communication. So we're not even on Zoom or phone call together. I will just kind of do it in my own time. So they'll say, hey, I want a session, and I'll kind of say, okay, like I do it within like the next 24 hours or so. And they might be sleeping or working, whatever they're doing, they just go about their day, especially if like people are really busy, they like this way. Um, and if there's a time difference, like they might be sleeping and I'm doing it. And then I just send them like the report of what I've released from them. And then I say, if you have any questions or anything, just please reply. And so we may have a short, back and forth about if they had questions about anything. But yeah, it's like one of my favorite things about it is that it's very non-invasive, like it can be done on
Hmm.
anyone. And it's also, unlike a lot of other kind of healing practices, there's no like bringing up the past or like bringing up those emotions. You don't have to like, a lot of things talk about like you have to bring it up and feel it for it to be released. But like in this, like sometimes it does happen, but it's normally, if it does, it's a very small amount. But generally, like it doesn't, like you don't really feel anything like that, but it can still
Yeah.
be released. So that's why it's really great. But yeah, whether the person comes in person or we do it via Zoom or it's email, it always starts the same. Like I will set the intention to connect to them and ask for guides and universe, like for guidance and support to help them. And then once I muscle test on myself,
Mm.
like how if I'm connected to them, and now that I've done it quite a lot, it's very easy for me to connect to someone else. And then I'll just start with the chart, and I'll ask like if I've got the symptoms in front of me. Sometimes if there's like more than one symptom, I will ask the subconscious mind like which is the one that it wants to work on, because even
Mhm.
it knows that. So sometimes clients come and they've got like 3 or 4 symptoms, um, and like there's probably one that the subconscious mind, either it's like there's not much contributing to it, so like it can do quite a small amount and it can get a profound result, or like it's just like this one, yeah, like this is the one that I need to work on. So it'll tell me, and then I just start asking, okay, is there any imbalances associated with this or causing this? And I just let it guide me, and whatever comes up, just let it do its thing. And then once I found it, once we identify it, may need to get some more information about it, but normally not much. Maybe like the age of occurrence. So like if it's an emotional energy, and I usually do this, especially for people who are new, because they like to know when it is from. So I ask like, is it from, before this age or after this age? And then I narrow it down until the age it is. And then the subconscious mind gives me like an approximate age between like 1 or 2 years. And then yeah, it can be released. So I'll release it. I always release it on myself. It can be done on the other person, but because these certifications are online, so I did
Uh-huh.
most of the stuff doing it on myself. So it also, I like to do it myself because obviously we all have our own bias, and we all have our own blind spots. And when you're testing on the person, they can almost slightly manipulate the results if they have a thought like, I think it's this, or like, I want it to be this, or, like
Mhm.
even if it's subconscious, they can slightly manipulate it. Whereas, like, if I do it on me, I don't have any of those biases. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can bypass that, which I've found it's very effective to do that as well. Um, so yeah, then we go through and I just release them energetically on myself. And then I close up with like a resetting of the energy centers, like the chakras and that. And then yeah, that's it. And then the body takes a few days to process it. So during that time, the client may feel like echoes of the emotion,
Mhm.
like it's normally very slight, but it's maybe like a little bit of irritability, maybe like vivid dreams, tiredness. The memories from those things may suddenly pop into your mind. I've had that before where I'm like, oh, that's so strange. I haven't thought about that for like 20 years.
Oh,
And then
wow.
I'll ask myself, like, oh, is that related to that? And then, yeah, it's normally like related to something I released. It's just like, I don't know, the body's just bringing it up for you into your
Mhm.
awareness so it can be released. And then yeah, after that, it's done. The body needs to integrate, but the body will take its time to integrate however long it needs. So once it's processed, you can have another session or whatever, however you like to continue. And then after
Awesome.
one session, the body, like depending, as I said, like how many imbalances are contributing to something, it could be that the symptoms have completely gone. It could be that the symptoms have lessened. If someone is like really imbalanced, like become with like quite severe like issues, then it
Mhm.
may be like it might need quite a while. So like a lot of imbalances to be released, so they may not feel much. But in most cases, you feel, even my clients that come to me with quite a lot of bad issues, they feel like a lessening. Even if it's just slight, you might just feel like a little happier, a little lighter is often like a symptom that I get, like just generally, I just feel, I don't know, lighter. So that's, yeah,
That's
yeah, it's
awesome.
very, very straightforward and simple. That's why I love it.
Yeah, and I know folks at home can't see us, but I saw you do kind of making two rings and pulling
Mm,
your fingers apart. Can you tell us
yeah.
what that action is? Is that part of the muscle testing?
Yeah, so this is there's many different like ways to muscle test. Probably very common ones are the sway, where you stand and like your body will naturally want to fall forward or back. That's how I started learning. That's like the most, I guess, basic, easiest one to learn. So the body will naturally, if you ask yourself a question like, my name is Beth, like the body will naturally want to go forward. In some cases, some people are reversed, so it might want to go back, but in most cases, people will go forward. And if you say like, my name is Heather, and like that's not true, my body knows that,
Uh-huh.
so I'll go backwards. And that's like the most basic sway test. There's also pendulum that is also using muscle testing because it's
Oh,
the pendulum moves via the vibrations in your
in your
body, right?
body. Hmm.
So that's a way you can muscle test as well. But this is just the one that I find the most comfortable. But you can do like on the finger, and then if you're doing it on someone else, so you might have seen like they press the arm.
Uh-huh. Yep, I've seen
Yeah,
that.
that's yeah. So that one's a pretty common to do with, like on someone else.
Okay.
But there are many ways of muscle
Oh,
testing.
wow. So when you do the two
Yeah.
rings, the two fingers together, is if they pull apart, it's a no, and if
Yeah, if
they
they pull apart, it's a no, and if they're like hold strong, it's a yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's fascinating. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's how you work with somebody remotely. You're sort of
Hmm.
testing on
Yeah.
yourself for them and running through your chart.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when I release on me, it releases on them.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's all
Okay.
because it's all energy, it's all like I guess, it's all connected. So
Yeah.
as long as I set the intention, it just, it's magic really, I feel. But it's like
Yeah. Oh,
quantum
I'm gonna
physics kind of thing.
I love it. I love it. That's so fascinating to me too, because I've heard of something similar, like you said, the kinesiology and muscle testing.
Mm.
But this sort of takes on more of a spiritual angle, I think. And you're a spiritual person too.
Mm.
You make spiritual art. Can you tell us about the kind of art that you make and how that supports
Yeah.
your interest in the
Yeah,
body
definitely.
work? Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to make a lot more. That's a funny story. Like I love making art, but like I think before I found this, before I knew what I wanted to do, like I tried to make it into like my full-time thing, but it actually is a weird thing to say. Like it always feels like the opposite. Like it, well, I could tell inside it wasn't what I was meant to do, but I wanted it to be, but I could just feel it wasn't. But I would make art where it was similar to you but different because I don't see color, but I could, like feel color. So I would like a lot of my artwork was based on like I would experience a moment in time, and then I would kind of take that moment and try and like amplify the feelings I felt, and then kind of naturally like I'd choose colors intuitively, and then 'cause it's so abstract, so I just like intuitively kind of let it come out onto the page. I used a lot of watercolor. So I just kind of let it flow how it wanted to, trying as hard as possible not to kind of force it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of I think I really like doing that because it allowed me to like a lot of I especially like to connect to like very mundane moments that
Hmm.
often they feel like very fleeting passing moments that maybe are not like a huge deal. Um, and doing the artwork like that way really allows me to kind of like connect to those moments that otherwise I might forget really, really soon, or like I won't stop and pay attention to. So I love that I can just kind of land in my body and really appreciate those smaller moments and
Yeah.
get them out on paper. And
Yeah. That's
when I look at that, I'm sure your artwork is the same. It's really to someone else it may look like nothing, but to me it really represents that moment. Like I can feel the feelings from looking
Mhm.
at that image with the colors. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so powerful. I think, like you said before you found this work, being able to find other ways to express yourself
Mm,
emotionally through art, healing, art or painting, dance, cooking, whatever it is, but finding something
mm,
that helps you sort of get that energy out of your body. And I would say,
mm,
like in my workshops too, where I teach people therapeutic art, that this is not anything you have to show or share or try to sell, right? Like this is just art for art's sake, just through the process of trying to understand yourself and understand your emotions better so that you can heal and grow from
Mm,
there.
exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I love
so,
that.
yeah, yeah, it's so important. I think even if you have no intention of trying to find healing through a creative outlet, um, it's just important to have a creative outlet so that you can just
Mm.
process things you don't even know are there.
I
Because I
think,
think we naturally do that anyway.
yeah, definitely. I think
Yeah.
that people are, because I also used to teach art classes, and people always, I think, were like there were social classes that I did, so it was people that would just, come and do one class, and they were always so surprised at how calming and peaceful they felt when they did it. Like even if they had no intention of like showing anyone, or they thought it looked like shit, they're like, oh, but this just feels so good. Like the time is going quickly. Like I'm not thinking about anything
Yeah.
else. It's just like such a like rest haven, like I
I
can
feel
get away from
calm.
everything.
Yeah.
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 I heard
That's
that
so
all the
true.
time. Like, oh, this is so calming. And like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
like the number one thing people say. I feel so calm. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
good. It's working.
Yeah.
So you also you have a monthly membership too?
It's like a monthly mentorship kind of thing.
Oh,
Yeah. So
cool.
I kind of pair, I guess, like daily guidance, and like people ask questions, it's like, so what I found when I was working on people was that we do the sessions and things are improving, but during their daily life they'd go back and then they'd come back and they'd be like, oh, I'm really struggling with this, and things keep coming up, and I keep telling myself like, oh, it's getting better and something, but I could tell they were still struggling kind of in the day-to-day moments, like how to navigate life stuff.
Mhm.
So I guess it's kind of like coaching mixed with my energy healing sessions, and yeah, I do that like by the month,
Well,
I
then
think.
I'm going to roll out the red carpet
Okay.
to you and tell people how they can connect with you, how they can work with you, and where can they find you online.
Yeah, awesome. So I have my Instagram at BEM Healing. At the moment, that's kind of like my main thing online. I haven't got my website up yet, so that's
That's
that's my
okay.
main area. Yeah, then through there they can contact me directly and reach out if they want, or just follow my stuff and find out more about the emotion code, the body code, and the belief code, and how they can help them, and how they can even there's also the 2 books. It's not me personally, but the 2 books that they can find out more if they want.
Okay. Awesome. I'll make sure to include all of that in the show notes too, so folks know how to find you and connect with you. And I want to thank you for being part of our show today because it was so fascinating to learn about this, and I'm excited to try some of these, simple techniques on myself. Like you said, when you are in the car and somebody cuts you off and you get that like, oh, anger, like, is that in my body and how can I get it out? Because we want to
It
be
still
free of
happens
that.
to
Yeah.
me.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a
Oh,
pleasure to chat with you.
well, thank you so much for having me, Heather. It's been
Thank
lovely to
you.
be here.
Oh, good. That's a wrap on today's episode. A huge thank you to Beth McIntyre for sharing her wisdom and energy with us. I hope you're walking away feeling inspired and more connected to your own inner glow and your radiant spirit. If you loved this conversation and want to dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join me inside the Inner Glow Collective, where we explore color, energy, and self-discovery together. You can also experience one of my live workshops or get your own spirit portrait, a personal, one-of-a-kind reflection of your energy in color. Check out all the ways we can connect at www.heathereck.com or find me on Instagram at heathereckartist. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who could use a little more color in their life. Until next time, my friends, keep shining and trust the magic of your energy.
Thank you for joining us on Your Radiant Spirit. If today's episode lit up your creativity or helped you connect with your inner energy, please leave us a review and share your thoughts. Your feedback helps us spread more light to others. To dive deeper, visit www.heathereck.com for courses, workshops, and custom spirit portraits. And for daily inspiration and behind-the-scenes magic, follow Heather on Instagram at @HeatherEckArtist. Your radiant spirit is calling. Take the next step on your journey. See you next time.